we need to consider various ways of legalizing cannabis, to develop different alternatives in that area, to devote the same attention to trying to figure out different ways of regulating cannabis, as we've devoted for so many years to the drug war strategies. And they even said we need to look at ways to allow the people who are most addicted to drugs, who cannot quit, to allow them some way to obtain their drugs from legal sources. And finally they said it's time to break the taboo, on putting all options on the table. Well, that was ex-presidents. But what happened just a few months later was that current presidents for the first time began to speak out. President Santos in Colombia stood out and he said he thought that the world would be better off if we legalized cannabis. He said, I'm not going to go first as Colombia, but that would be the better policy. Then a former right-wing general, head of military intelligence, who was elected president in Guatemala, Otto Perez Molina, he came out with even bolder recommendations. And then the president of Uruguay, who comes not from the right but the left, Jose Mujica, said he thinks it's time for Uruguay to try to legally regulate marijuana, more or less like alcohol, a stricter model, but to take it out of the prohibition approach. Even President Obama, when he went to the Summit of the Americas in Cartagena last year, acknowledged that legalization is now a legitimate subject of debate, and that he was ready to look at where U.S. drug policy might be doing more harm than good in the region. Now, this was a radical transformation of what was happening before. Before, people would think this way, but elected officials would never say it. Now they're saying it. And that OAS report that emerged, that represents the next step in breaking the taboo on considering all drug policy options. Meanwhile, in my own country, we now have a majority of Americans saying that it is time to legally regulate marijuana, more or less like alcohol. 18 states have legalized marijuana for medical purposes, and a few more will do so in coming months, right? Roughly 40% of Americans live in states where marijuana is now legal for medical purposes. There are between 1 and 2 million legal medical marijuana patients, which means they don't get arrested for possessing marijuana with a doctor's recommendation, and that most of them can obtain it from a legal source. And then you saw what happened in Colorado and Washington just last November, where people voted to legalize marijuana and regulate it like alcohol. And that was not even a close vote. In Colorado, the vote to legalize marijuana got more votes than Barack Obama did, and he won overwhelmingly in Colorado. In Washington state, the vote to legalize marijuana got almost as many votes as Obama, and more votes than the Democrats who won the races for the governor and attorney general's races. So this is not something that represents a minority view. When I last came to Aruba 11 years ago, my views were more on the fringes of mainstream politics. That is no longer the case. The reason I'm here today and in these next few days to give these lectures tonight and tomorrow night and to meet with elected officials and to speak with people in the public and the media is my hope that I can help break the taboo in Aruba as well.